What's up, everyone? I'm doing a reader review here from Rusty. Calls this Bender Celebration Ale. So I wonder if it's kind of a clone between, cross between Surly Bender and Sierra Nevada Celebration, maybe? I'm not really sure. 12 pounds of Rahr pale malt, 2 pounds of Crystal 60, 2 pounds of beet sugar, gravity 1079 down to 1011, 7.2% alcohol, hops. Cascade, 2 ounce, 4 ounce Centennial. It's a lot of Centennial. 0.75 ounce Chinook. It's bottle conditioned. I've had it in my fridge for 5-6 days. Now this will be an interesting one to see because he said that when it was fermenting it actually got too high. It actually got at one point up to like 82 degrees is what he said. It's Wyeast 1056, so I was gonna try to look up the temperature range of that, but it's probably in like the low to mid 70s would be ideal. So we'll see what happens. It says it's been dry hopped for 5 days, bottled on March 21st, and today is June 7th, so March, April, May, June, so it's almost been in the bottle 2.5 months. I don't know, it's probably 3 months old then if you brewed it a couple weeks at least before then or longer. So with a big hoppy beer like this, kind of like an IPA, it probably will be just past a peak time maybe. But he wanted me to see if I thought that he suffered anything negative from the higher fermentation temperature. So that's what we'll see if we can get. Initially, there's not a overwhelming flavor that is you know, negative that makes me feel like, oh, it's really went awry. I'm trying to see if I can get some aroma. I've been had it sit out for 15 minutes or so, but it's still kind of cool. I wonder if I'm getting a little bit of a harshness that might be from a higher fermentation temperature. I don't really know how to describe it other than, I don't know if you would use a word like astringent. It is kind of a bitterness, and this is probably a pretty bitter beer. So it's kind of sometimes hard to separate those two. Sometimes when I taste a homebrew that I think is not really all that great, but the person, if they made it, that's standing there, they'll say, oh, it's really hoppy and really bitter, and sometimes I think, well, no, I think there's something else going on. So there might be a little bit of that in here, but there is it's funny, with all those hops, and it is, you know, a few months old, I'm getting kind of a nice malt character. I wonder if the 2 pounds of Crystal 60, that's kind of a lot of crystal, and I wonder if that's providing a residual sugar malt flavor that is what I'm getting in part. Color is nice. Again, I have kind of dark light down here, but it's kind of like a reddish brown or brownish red, which is kind of like a celebration. It is not awful. I suppose what you could do, Rusty, if you did like this beer, how it turned out, brew it again sometime and just really watch the fermentation temperature, and then in your memory compare it to this one and see if you think that that flavor that I'm maybe getting, a little bit of a harshness, kind of on the back of the throat, kind of after you swallow, might be attributed to a higher fermentation temperature. That happened to me once on my second batch ever, about 11 or 12 years ago, and the beer was a lot worse than this. It was not as big of a gravity as this, so it probably affected any off flavor more. It was just barely drinkable, not bad enough to dump, but not good enough to really enjoy. And ever since that batch, I've always watched my temperatures a lot more closely and used the right type of yeast for whatever temperature your house is at that time of year, because you can use lagers in the winter, ales spring and fall. In the summer you can do wheat beers, Belgians, you know, you can kind of brew with the seasons. But otherwise, thanks for sending. It's not as bitter as maybe I would have thought. Bitterness is very balanced. I mean, if it was trying to be like a big hoppy beer, it could be more bitter, I'd say. But thanks for sending. Anyone else? You want to send me something? I'll give you my 2 cents for whatever it's worth, and hope you have a good one. Cheers.